Hi everyone, my name is Rick and I welcome you back to my channel. Today I'm going to give you the usual garden tour, and then I'm going to pick out 8 Hoyas from the greenhouse, and I'm going to show you what they're up to. There's a lot of new growth here in the yard, a lot of flowers, a lot going on, so please stick around. So it hasn't rained here in the yard for about a couple weeks, but we are getting 3 days of increased rain chances. So I'm kind of excited about that we're going to get some natural rain in the yard. I have been watering a lot, like almost every day. I do a different section of the garden, so it's kind of cumbersome. But when it rains, it really is a big relief. There's quite a few things going on. With the Hoyas, this one is, I'm pretty surprised. This is AH 74 and it's been in bloom for almost 2 weeks. So that's kind of nice for a bloom that lasts that long. They usually, Hoyas last from sometimes 2 days to the occultata to a month. So that's how usually Hoya blooms last, and most of them are within 5 to a week. When it comes to the blooming length. And a lot of times, you know, the flowers will fall off that umbel, and then in a few weeks they'll put out more flowers off that same umbel. It usually goes through that cycle almost all summer long with a lot of the Hoyas that I have back here. So yes, this over here, I had a video up on my Facebook and my Instagram. This is Hoya Swiffer's Treat. It's one of Cerise's hybrids. I'll put the parentage below. But I was pollinating this yesterday, so the flowers look a little like they have been, you know, tampered with, but hopefully they will take. And I crossed it with Hoya EPC 605, which is back there blooming. I'll show you guys that later. So yeah, this is the leaf on Swiffer's Treat. It's quite gorgeous. One of the parents is actually a clemensorium, and you can tell by the dark midrib in the back. So yeah, there's quite a few seed pods maturing. This is that verticillata Cambodia crossed with 605 as well. This should be open in 1 to 2 weeks. And I discovered that this cross I did about a week ago. This is a huge leaf, as you can see. This is EPC 733. I'm sorry, take that back. AH 733. It's a very waffly, veiny, big, really big leaf. So I'm excited to have pollinated this Hoya, and I'll show you the seed pods are here somewhere developing, and here they are. So those look like they took, and so from that stage to maturity is about, I would say 8 weeks to a couple months. So let me just make sure that these are not hitting anything. There you go. So yeah, that's another seed pod that is coming along. So let me take you in the back and show you the EPC 605. I did remove a lot of the flowers from the umbel because I took it inside the house to pollinate with. And over here, this is the Phaleanopsis. It's on day 3, I believe, of blooming. And the showstopper for this Hoya is the leaves. They're quite large and veiny, and it's a relatively easy grower. As you can see, this leaf is probably 7-8 inches long. Yeah, it's a relatively easy grower. It just doesn't grow as fast as I wanted it to. It's been I got this in here as a cutting about, yeah, about this time last year. It did put out all this, so I guess that's not too bad. But compared to some of the verticillata, it's not as fast. So let me just go back here and show you the APC 605 that I used to cross. If I can reach that high. Yeah, this is the Affinis. It's kind of an Affinis rigida APC 605. It has like a nice, can't really tell because of the way the sun's hitting it. It's pretty good sized blooms, and they are pink. The corolla is very pink. And so yeah, that's always a really nice Hoya, and it's very fragrant. And I use that one a lot because the leaf is actually quite big and veiny, as you can see on here. Let's see if I can. So yeah, there's a bunch of Phaleanopsis still in bloom. They've been in bloom for over a month. Some of them are kind of looking a little shabby, but there's one over here that I'm really liking. I lost the tag on this, but it's the sun's hitting it from the back, so it's kind of hard to tell. But it has like multi-tone lobes. It's a really pretty Phaleanopsis. And this is the one of the Phaleanopsis. They call them novelty Phaleanopsis, and I might have the tag on this one. And this is a Hoya Ploysai that I put in this plant from Bossa Nova. And see if I can find the tag. I put it in here somewhere, but it's not there. So I'll have to look in my notes in the house. Yeah, it's a really beautiful yellow, and it's mounted on the tree. And it survived the really cold winter night when it dropped down to like 40 degrees. And over here, let me show you some of the leaves. There's Swiffer. Some of the leaves on my 14-1, RHM 14-1. They look very different grown outdoors than they do under grow lights. And these leaves can get really splashy and veiny. Some of them can get to a pretty good size. And they get this really prominent midrib. And this is Hoya Iml 1605. There is some posts online that say this is Hoya CF Paulawanica, and I think that name is not valid. So I'm just keeping it as 1605. It's quite a beautiful flower on this Hoya. The orange is really quite stunning. It's like a burnt orange color with those pink rows. It's really a beautiful Hoya. The plant never looks good for me. I'm not really sure why. I have it with my other Hoyas back there, and they all look fine, but this one always looks, you know, kind of sickly, but it always blooms often. It could bloom like 10 times on the same umbel in the summer and the fall, so it's quite a beautiful flower. So I'm really happy to grow this. I just hope that one day I'll have a pretty plant to show. It's kind of ugly, as you can see. And this orchid I picked up this week at Artstone here in St. Petersburg. It was $45, which is a little more expensive than most of their orchids. Yeah, it's green and it's fragrant, and I had to get it. It's in Cyclia randii var alba cross self. It says species Brazil. It has about 4 bulbs, so I hopefully get it to replicate and bloom again for me, because it's super fragrant, like I said, and it's green and it's gorgeous. So I'm really happy to have this in my collection. And this here is a begonia that I picked up at Home Depot. It was I think $12.99. I bought it last year in a 5-inch pot, so it's grown quite a bit. It's super cool looking. It's very splashy, and it's actually a very easy begonia. It survived the cold winter nights here when it dropped down into the 40s. I have it in a self-watering pot, and I think that's the way to grow these begonias, because they like to be consistently wet, and when they're happy like this, they put out a lot of new growth. So as you can see, it's a really stunning begonia, and it looks like it's pretty happy, as you can tell, putting out new leaves and new growth all the time. So yeah, I love this guy. If anyone knows the name of it, please comment below. I appreciate it. And this is a Hoya patella. This one seems to be happy with a little neglect. I sometimes forget to water it, and it goes completely dry. As you can see, the plant doesn't look that great. It's suffered a little bit of neglect, but I think it likes that in a way, because the other one that gets more care, my bigger patella, it's in Weka, and it's a constantly moist, doesn't bloom as often. So as you can see, I have it in like a regular potting mix. And the thing about patella, it puts out 1 or 2 flowers, maybe 3 per every time it blooms on that peduncle. So I've seen big, large Hoya patella plants that could be covered in flowers, 1 or 2 or 3 per node. So yeah, this is a really beautiful Hoya to keep. It doesn't seem fussy at all, and when it blooms, it does really put on a show. And this is Hoya Ploysai. I got it as an import about a month ago. It didn't travel so well, and it got some fungal issues, I believe, so I sprayed it with Phaleanopsis, and now it seems to be doing pretty well. It was just this leaf that had some issues. This leaf arrived with no problems whatsoever, and I'm really happy to see it is putting out a new growth. I have it growing in a mix of, they sell this bromeliad mix here in Florida, and I mixed it about 2/3 bromeliad mix and 1/3 perlite, and my larger pots of Hoyas really like this mix, and they thrive on it and grow pretty quick. So this is my preferred growing mix, and I have a different rooting mix, and I've showed that before in previous videos. So yeah, this is Hoya Ploysai. I think it's named after one of the nursery owners in Thailand, A.H. Hoyas, Hoya Ploysai. It's pretty new, so I don't think a lot of people have grown this Hoya, because I don't see much of it online. And here is Hoya Michele. It's a rather splashy, showy Michele here, and I'm happy. I acquired it about a month ago, and I'm happy to tell you guys that the new growth is putting out very splashy leaves. So which is kind of nice, because a lot of times these put out really splashy, and then when you get them, they revert to just, not really revert, but they lose the splash. And there's really not that much you can do when it starts losing it. I think some grow lights encourage it, but I'm not absolutely sure about that. Splash comes and goes, and it really is putting out this really long vine. I think this vine is probably not even more than a week old. It just shot up really quick with this new growth. So yeah, I'm really happy, and I hope that this Michele continues to be as splashy and showy as this guy here. And this is Hoya rigidifolia. I got it about 3 weeks ago as an import from Sarisa. As you can see, it was a nice size plant, and I kept the roots that she sent because they looked really healthy, and I just put it into a really chunky mix of perlite, coconut bark, and a little bit of charcoal and sphagnum moss. And you can see like the root system has gone crazy, and it's putting out a nice flower. It's going to open probably in a couple weeks, maybe a little less, but it did come with a peduncle, like I said, but I'm really excited to see this one flower because I've never seen it in person, and the pictures that I see online are pretty cool looking, so really looking forward, and I'll keep you updated as soon as it blooms. I'll shoot some video to show you guys. And this is Hoya crassipetiolata splash. You can see these leaves are very consistently splashed, and I don't think I've had a problem with this Hoya ever reverting. I have a few pots of this, and it's quite exquisite. The splash, the veining, the growth rate. The flowers are actually kind of cute on this. And so yeah, this is Hoya crassipetiolata splash, and it seems to be on a growth spurt because it's shooting out lots of new vine and new leaves are coming. And I think Swiffer's over there waiting for me to be done with the video so I can feed her or give her treats. So yeah, so this is really a nice Hoya. If you don't have this one and you're one that's into splash, this is a must in every collection. Another splasher here is Hoya multiflora. I received it as spot. I've seen it called multiflora Milky Way. It has like this really diffuse splashing, and it seems to be consistent. I've had grown this plant for a long time, and all the leaves stay this splashy, and it's a upright grower, like the regular Hoya multiflora, and it seems to be happy in this my rooting mix on top of charcoal chunks, and there's a little bit of reservoir of water down at the bottom. As you can see, I make a hole so it doesn't overfill with water, and it seems pretty happy here. And I've had this plant for about 3 weeks, and it's put out these two new sets of leaves, so it's pretty happy. I hope it continues to grow as well for me. And before I go, there's something I planted in the front yard about 3 years ago, and it's putting out some fruit. And here are the mangoes. There's going to be some mangoes this year, but when it was in full bloom, we had a cold snap, and I think a lot of the blossoms fell from that cold when it dropped down into like 42 degrees. So it might be a very limited crop this year of the mangoes. But what I really wanted to show you out here was this little guy that I planted a while back in here in my front yard. And it's one pineapple I bought at the store, and I cut the top off, let it dry a few days, and then I just stuck it in the ground, and now I have a little pineapple. And I've done this before, and they turn out to be a little smaller than the ones you buy at the store, but they're really super delicious and sweet. So yeah, a little pineapple growing here. I have a few other plants. I just keep putting the pineapples everywhere when I buy one at the store, and they always take. They're pretty easy to grow here in Florida. And that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and come back every Sunday when I upload a new video. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.